Welcome back, everybody, to the Colin O'Reilly Show. I'm so excited. This week I have on James Avery, the AI aficionado, not the actor that nobody has ever heard of. James, what up? Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to America.
Hey, thanks for having me. What time is it over there and where are you? You're in LA. Is that
I
right?
am in I am in LA, and for listeners at home, James is in Australia, Sydney, I think, right?
I share the same time zone as Sydney, but I'm on the coast. I'm in between two major cities, right smack in the middle.
That's cool. I did just a little cursory Wikipedia article reading of Australia last night. It's I always thought I had kind of thought that, but I confirmed that it's the continent. It's like one of the smaller continents, but almost the exact size of the United States, but with only 26 million people, whereas we have 350 million people. But that's so much
Yeah, that's
empty
right.
space you
Yeah, so
guys got.
26 million people. I guess it is small for a continent, but it is still a continent, so it's a huge country, especially for how many people we've got. Most of it is
That's cool.
uninhabited. We're
Well,
pretty
I'm
spread
small.
out.
Yeah, so much empty space, so many UFOs probably chilling in your country.
Yeah, well, there's a hot spot called Wycliffe Well. I've never been there because it would take about 4 days for me to drive there. But
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a UFO hotspot in Australia. It's in the middle of the desert. And they say that if you go there, you're pretty much guaranteed to see something.
whoa, that's cool. That's cool. I would try to get a condo there.
Well, it's in the middle of the desert. I don't think there's pretty much nothing there.
Yeah, Australia seems scary. I know it's the old cliche. Everyone teases you guys, but lots of space and lots of deadly animals. It seems like lots of deadly wildlife.
Yeah, I guess. But you guys have got deadly stuff as well too, right? I mean, you got alligators and mountain lions that'll pick people off when you're hiking.
Yes, yes. Although that's pretty rare. That's like it's like finding gold. It's like one every what I live in LA though, so it's dangerous. There's all kinds of dangerous
Yeah.
animals like meter maids,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
crazy.
there are parts of Australia where you wouldn't go swimming because of crocodiles.
Yeah, that would be terrifying. I live here in Venice, California, LA, right next to the ocean, and I don't go swimming because the beach is so dirty.
Okay.
It's like New
Yeah, well, I don't
Jersey.
go swimming, but I don't want to get eaten by a shark. The beaches here are pretty nice, though.
I bet. I've never been to Australia, but just seen it on TV, and yeah, it looks beautiful. It looks like a resort.
Yeah, no, we're pretty lucky here.
That's so
Depending where
cool.
you live. I mean, if you live in Sydney, you try and go to the beach, it's probably similar to Venice. It's
Mm.
just packed shoulder to shoulder. But where I live, you might go to the beach, and you might be the only person there.
Do the robots, does the AI have Australian accents there?
Yeah, there are. I think a lot of Microsoft has got an Australian accent. I was playing with the OpenAI ones the other day. It's not quite Australian, somewhere in the middle. It might be like it sort of sounds a bit Australian, a bit South African. I couldn't quite pick it, but yeah, they definitely have Australian accents in the AI field.
That's funny when you go into Chat GPT, it's just like, good day, mate.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know if it does that, but that'd be pretty funny.
well, I met you, James, on Instagram because I'm a huge AI nerd. I started following you run an AI page on there, which has like a zillion followers. How did you get into AI? Were you always just a fan of computers and technology since you were a kid?
Yeah, I've always been a bit of a technology nerd. The AI thing kind of just came about because I was using it myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the whole chat GPT thing, when I saw it, I just thought this is going to change everything.
Yeah,
But it's not real clear exactly what the world's going to look like post AI. We're sort of in the midst of it now. So anyway, as an industry, it's seems to be growing. Like there's new things every the uh the pace of development just is just incredible. There's new stuff dropping every week. And I really just wanted to play with it all. So I was looking at what sort of investments I would need to make, like to run AI myself. And I ended up realizing that it made more sense to create my own platform, host it all in the cloud, and then I would just have access to all the latest and fun tools to play with.
Yeah, there's so many out there, and you're so right about it advancing so fast. It seems like it's more even than the internet was, like it's just exploding.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's like it's funny because you've got the big players like Microsoft, OpenAI, you got Zuckerberg at Facebook, but then you've got all
Yeah.
these open source models which are almost as good. So it's really like a big community of corporations and then just also the Wild West of just people doing whatever they want. It's crazy.
Yeah. And now I'm sure you saw like that NVIDIA had come out with that new GPU for AI training and Facebook bought like $30 billion worth or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah, I saw that.
I mean, the next couple of years are going to be just fascinating. And I'm sure you see all the Sam Altman quotes from OpenAI where he's like, oh, GPT-5 will be a zillion times, more powerful than GPT-4, which is already really powerful, It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, well GTP4 is already really good. It's yeah, I honestly I can't imagine it. I can't predict what it's going to be like. This whole thing kind of I didn't see it coming. Because I mean really a year ago none of this stuff existed. So
yeah.
yeah, it's been a pretty crazy year. In terms
I
of
remember,
GPT-5, who knows?
yeah, I remember years ago, it seems like it was like 4 or 5 years ago when AI was just starting out with like deep learning. I remember hearing that as like a buzzword a lot. Like, oh,
Yeah, well
deep
machine
learning.
learning they were using. Yeah, well
Yeah,
so they were training like a good example would be driverless cars. Like if they'd have a camera and the camera would like see a corner, I guess, and um they would watch what the driver does. Like the driver approaches this corner, he spins the steering wheel to the right, and then they would train it that way, like by actually watching drivers, how they actually drove the cars, and then they've taken that to the next level and just done it with the human language.
yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah, yeah. The LLMs, um, now I'm totally
Yeah,
blanking
large
on the
language model.
large language models. Yeah, that's fascinating. And it seems like now they're even running out of data, they're saying, to train like the LLMs on. Because I guess you can just kind of keep dumping them on the internet if you
Yeah,
want
I
like
guess.
just
Well,
general
I
knowledge.
think the key is the data sets. So there's like a bunch of different models out there that are trained on different data sets.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all about the data set, I believe. If you were to put in garbage, garbage is going to come out.
Yeah.
So you probably wouldn't want to dump the entire internet on, is what I'm getting at, because
Oh,
there's
I
a lot
see.
of crap on there.
Yeah, exactly. And that could be, I think you hit on the nail on the head of why at least I think UFOs are watching us is for the data set. Sort of
That's a
like
good point. I never thought about that.
we would be so fascinating, and especially if they're kind of like some people think that UFO craft are a form of AI. I
Yeah,
don't know
well,
if
it would make sense. I mean,
yeah.
what AI is, I guess that's a philosophical debate. Like, are we AI? I mean, in terms of
Yeah.
intelligence, like, what difference is it? But yeah, I think that's a possibility that they're the next level of maybe a few more levels above us in terms of whatever the next life form looks like once we evolve.
Sort of like, have you ever heard of like Van Neumann probes or
Maybe remind me. It sounds familiar.
there was a guy, like a scientist, I think in the 50s or sometime around, and his last name was von Neumann or Van Neumann. I'm totally probably butchering it. And he had sort of hypothesized you could have like self-replicating AI
Ah, yeah, yeah,
drones.
yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
go around. And I think that'd
Yeah,
be
well,
so
that would
cool.
make sense as well. I mean, I have no idea what UFOs are. There's so many good ideas out there, but who honestly knows?
Have you ever seen the movie? It's an American film, Flight of the Navigator.
I have when I was a kid. So I remember the general story, but I don't remember it in depth. It was about the kid who disappears for a couple of days and
Yeah.
on Earth, like 20 years goes past, I think.
Well, or he finds, yeah, and he finds an alien ship. It's essentially like
Yeah.
a Tic Tac, but it sort of has like Terminator 2 technology where it sort of like morphs like all liquid metal and whatever. And the
Yeah,
ship's
cool.
like alive, and then they run around and explore stuff. And it's like maybe that's like what UAP are, is now that they're calling them in America. Have you ever seen a UFO down there?
I've definitely seen like some weird lights in the sky, which I don't know what they were, but um the reason they were weird to me is because they weren't making any noise, so like, it could have been something in space. But I had one of those apps, like the flight tracker and satellite apps,
Yeah,
and it didn't show up on either of them. And like I was convinced that I was looking at something that I hadn't seen before, because like obviously you know what a plane looks like, it's blinking.
yeah,
But it was just cruising, so it didn't do any like weird maneuvers or anything. But it was just weird because I stayed out there for hours and then like even days to try and see whatever it was again. And not only did I not see anything the same ever again, like nothing even went on that flight path in that direction. Like there was
mm,
just nothing that I could match it with. So it
that's
was
so
just a little bit
cool.
weird.
I'm sure that the night sky out there must be amazing. There must be hardly any light pollution outside of like the big city centers.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I spent probably a good number of months watching the sky just like all the time, and you see a lot of stuff. Like it's mostly just satellites or the space station, but if you look up there you see cool stuff, but I think most people just don't even look.
Yeah, yeah. I look constantly. I live in Los Angeles and you can maybe see one star in the sky. Like there's so
Yeah,
much
okay.
light pollution. So, and I live about a mile from the airport. It's like one of the biggest in the world. So I never see
Yeah.
anything here. I deserve to though. Um, that's so cool. And now what about in Australia? Like officially, is the government seem open to it? Do they talk about it on television, that kind of stuff?
Not really. So when like all this, you know how you're getting all like the big headlines in America with the New York Times and all that sort of stuff. Like every few
Yeah,
months, there seems to be something. But in Australia, they'll occasionally like sort of mention it, but it's usually in a snarky, not really serious way. Um,
yeah. Little green man kind of.
well, I guess he's kind of big in the UFO field now. Russ Coulthart, I
Oh,
think his
that's
name is.
right. Yeah, he is. He's like a saint on Reddit here. He's like,
Yeah. Well, he did like that. You've probably seen he did that 1 hour or so documentary. So that aired on like our just free to air TV in prime time.
oh wow.
But yeah, so that was a pretty big deal. But that show that it aired on, they're sort of like that network doesn't have a lot of credibility.
Oh
Um,
really?
yeah, they do like a lot of, even though this documentary was good, that show that aired it, like they do a lot of sensational stuff. So I'm not sure how serious it was taken. But
Yeah.
I thought that was a good documentary. But apart from
It-
that, like people aren't interested. Well, like if you talk to people one on one, you'll find that they're interested, but nobody speaks about it. It's like not a mainstream thing.
yeah, it's still that's how it is here. I mean, now it's starting to change, like you mentioned the New York Times stuff, but I'll still bring it up with people and they'll just look at me like I'm a crazy person. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna talk about
Yeah,
that so much. Um, but it is fascinating because they are, like you said, the New York Times article, like it's as a society, as a planet, it's like we've shifted from at least are they real to what do we know about them, you know?
yeah. No, that's true. or at least the topic is getting the attention it deserves. Like, I mean, it's too much of a mystery. Like, it's been going on for 70 years. I don't like, unless it is something like crazy that we can't understand, there just shouldn't be a reason why it has to remain a mystery for all this time. It needs to be solved once and for all, and we should probably do
Yeah,
that. So it's good that we're talking about it.
exactly. Yeah, I always wonder that because like sometimes I was gonna ask you if you're into quantum computers at all. I'm totally obsessed with their development
Um,
and
yeah, it sounds interesting. I don't really know what like the real world application will be. So
yeah.
sounds cool, but yeah, I don't know what it's going to mean for us. Do
Well,
you
and
know
it
much
just
about it?
I know a little, like 1%, but it made me wonder in the sense, or even quantum phenomena, like when people study quantum physics, like they often say it doesn't really make sense. That one of sort of the tenets of it is that you can't predict stuff. Stuff is sort of unpredictable, and sort of like the quantum world is just smaller than like the standard classic physics world we know of, like, atoms and molecules. And so it's hard to make predictions and stuff. And they always say like the one thing about quantum mechanics is like nobody really understands it. It sort of seems like nonsense. And I just wondered, like UFOs sort of seem like that, or the whole notion of that. There was an article yesterday I was reading on Reddit by this guy, Dr. Gary Nolan, who's like an American CIA guy who's sort of come out with part of this New York Times stuff and whatever, and said, I work with the government and all that. And him and Jacques Vallée, who's, the Close Encounters
Yeah.
guy and whatever, they both kind of say UFOs seem sort of absurd and nonsensical and you can't predict them. I just wondered if there's like a correlation somehow there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Um, yeah,
That
I think it's
makes two of
possible.
us.
Like, yeah, no, I think like the quantum mechanics thing is a good analogy, or even like Newtonian physics. I think that's what it was called, where he could predict like most of the planets of the solar system. So it's kind of correct, but once you take into account the rest of the universe, it breaks down, and that's where Einstein's theory of relativity comes in. And then I'm guessing we're going to zoom out even further with a more complete understanding of the universe, and somehow quantum mechanics will fit in there and UFOs. But what that is, I've got no idea.
Yeah, me either. But maybe AI will figure it out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it's possible. Probably not this current generation, because this current generation is just like it's all of human knowledge, like what we already have. It can't really, it's not real AI like in the movies where um it can build on itself.
Yeah, it's
Sort
like
of limited. But
recursive.
yeah, but like a person with current gen AI could probably might take us a step closer.
Yeah. Or I mean, some people think it might eventually, with AGI, it's going to eventually build to the technological singularity. And they
Yeah.
say that is sort of a point which it's beyond which with like we can no longer make technological predictions about what will happen. And I also wonder, maybe that's with UFOs why it's so hard to understand and predict. It's sort of like beyond that tech singularity point.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon it could be something like that. Um, it's definitely something weird. Or yeah, no, it has to be because I go back and forth on it because there's so many different stories and a lot of them aren't that great. Oh well, like they don't have a lot of evidence. But then you've got ones like the Nimitz with David Fravor, and it's just
Yeah.
this weirdness that I don't know. It can't be explained in our current understanding of what we know is real.
I don't know if you read or had heard about it, Chuck Schumer, who is, we have like a Senate in our government or whatever. I think you guys are the same, or like it's like our version of a parliament or whatever. And sort of the head Democrat guy of that, he introduced a bill called the UAP. PA or something. And it got kind of shot down and watered down. But you can read it in 64 pages. And it's like all just talking about NHI and non-human intelligence. And he's trying to convince the government to release the technology and bodies. And he's like the third in charge of our government here. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's pretty crazy because like they're obviously taking it seriously. I've seen some of the hearings that you've had over there, with David
yeah,
Grush, and that's just
exactly.
like David Grush, for example. This is all the stuff we've been hearing for the last like 50 years. So it's not like it's any of it is new information, but no one's really come out to this level and sort of put their career on the line, put their reputation on the line, sworn under oath. So like even if what he's saying is not true, or like I don't think he's lying, but we don't know who he's speaking to. So even if what he's saying turns out to be like not aliens or some other explanation, it's still an incredible story because there are obviously people in the government who are telling him this stuff. And why are they doing that?
Well,
Like
and
that's
he
a
actually,
mystery, whether it's aliens or not. Like that's a
yeah.
weird mystery.
Well, and he actually did testify under oath here. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then the government came back and told our Congress and senators that they found the allegations credible and urgent,
Yeah. It's
whatever that
bizarre.
means.
It's yeah, it's something like not to be dismissed.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, I think it's like the movie Men in Black. I think it's, but what do I know? I'm just like an elderly hippie, but I think it seems like they're sitting on a ton of secrets.
They're definitely sitting on a ton of secrets. I'm not like sure which way. I swing back and forth. I don't know what
Yeah.
I think, to be honest. I kind of, it's hard to say because you've got those guys that, did you ever see the WikiLeaks stuff with Tom DeLonge?
Yes. I don't know. I looked through a ton of it, but a little bit with like the John Podesta stuff and his emails.
Yeah, so he's like obviously talking to a whole different group of people than like who are speaking to the media now, like like generals
Yeah.
compared to like Lou Elizondo, who's out in public now. So there's like multiple different factions that are talking about this stuff internally.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of it like that. And our budget for our military is so big. Like we spend 1 trillion a year,
Yep.
which is just like it's like its own country, you know. And so you're right.
Yeah.
There's probably just like everyone in it wants like a different thing or has a different angle, wants it to come out, and that's
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
the one that like the people that sort of always I always go back to and think if it's real, um, are the Apollo astronauts. You've got Gordon Cooper and Edgar Mitchell, who both had pretty incredible stories.
Yeah.
Um, and there's just no reason why they would lie. They were serious people.
Yeah. Supposedly there's like a big secret base, like a US Australia base they always talk about on like the
Yeah,
alien.
it's
I don't know if you
called
guys have History Channel. Oh, sorry.
yeah, it's called Pine Gap. It's not really well
Yes.
known. I just sort of found out about it by chance. We do have History Channel, but I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'm not really sure what they talk about on there. But I know they made like an Australian Netflix TV show called Pine Gap, and it's about the base, but I've never actually watched it.
Yeah. And then I always wonder too, they probably do that like Area 51. They put a base on TV and that's probably not where all the cool stuff happens. It's sort of like a,
Apparently, it's pretty important to the US. I think it's like
oh, yes.
got something to do with communications and probably probably like vital communications that they need during combat, I think.
That makes sense. Or even space, because during the Apollo moon landings, you guys had like that satellite dish that played a huge role in the,
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yep. It
that's,
was vital.
yeah, that's so cool. So what are you excited about? Is there any like AI programs coming up or anything that you're really excited to try out or use?
Probably, I think I think, yeah, a lot of the creative AI that's gonna come out, like the text to video, and
Yeah,
just, yeah, just pretty much the video tools. And to complement that, the voice tools, like you'll be able to create any sort of voice you want. Um, so like if you, I don't know, if you were a good actor, you could like do all the voices for like a pilot, a TV show pilot or something, and they would like all sound different. Like you'd have a woman,
yeah.
a man, and it's just gonna sound real. And the same thing for video. Have you seen those Sora
I have.
OpenAI?
I have. I've tried to play around with a bunch of competing ones because Sora is still closed.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm obsessed with it. I did the voice cloning thing where, yeah, it just has you read a couple of words and then it just mapped my voice. And I
yeah,
thought
it's
the same
crazy.
thing you did, like, oh, if I could do voices, which I can't, but you could make a whole show. That's what I'm excited about. I sold screenplays as like a producer for a long time. And you have to like raise money if you want to, or if you want to make a movie and stuff like that. But now with AI, you don't. You could just make stuff, you know? It's like,
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be like that with a lot of industries where you just like ideas will still matter and they'll still be like the best currency, but
yes.
the um the benchmark, the barrier to entry is going to be pretty much non-existent. Like I really think we're still probably a couple of years away, but I think like you or me would be able to make like a Hollywood level blockbuster just like with a
Yeah.
computer, just by ourselves. I think
I
that's a
hope.
reality that's definitely coming, but yeah, I don't know when.
I can't wait. I think in just a few years, I think by 5 years out, you'll be able to do all that stuff. And yeah, I can't wait. I want to be like an AI filmmaker and just play around with it. And there was so much stuff I couldn't make over the years because, yeah, oh, I can't get $100 million. But now, yeah,
Yeah.
all you'll need is
Yep.
an iPad.
Yep. No, that's my thinking as well. I've been working on this because I do like well, I used to do like a lot of graphic design by hand, and then
Nice.
AI came out and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'll just get AI to create everything. But I'd been working on this animation for a long time, and I saw all this AI stuff, all the AI video stuff coming out, and I just parked it. And I'm not going to work on it. Like, I'll probably
Yeah.
wait a year and then I'll just remake it with whatever tools are available because I figure it might take me like another year to make this thing. And then there's going to be like all these tools available, which are just going to make it so much easier.
Yeah. And pretty soon, maybe even the AI itself will be able to generate ideas, and then it'll be
Yeah, well,
really
I mean, I
weird.
guess it can generate ideas now, but like they're not very good. I always find
Yeah.
the best use of AI is like you go back and forth and it's like a collaborative effort and you just use it as a tool.
Yeah. Well, and I can't wait to see because Altman, that OpenAI CEO, he keeps really saying GPT-5 is going to be much, much more powerful. And I will be
Yeah.
interested to see because it can always do like math or science or, sort of the hard computational data, but will it ever be able to write a good joke, or
Yeah,
tell a
well, I
compelling?
think, I think it depends on what it's trained on. So I reckon there's like AI out there that you and I can give it data, like our own data and train it. So like
That's
I think
true.
that if we took one of these like open source AI and for example, we fed it every episode of the Stephen Colbert Report,
That's
which is
awesome.
like a decade worth of episodes. Like I think it would make like, and then we gave it a news story and said, write this in the style of the Colbert Report. Um, I think you'd get good content. But that's like you have to train it on a specific data set.
That's true, and that totally makes sense. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's actually an idea that I'm gonna do one day. I'm just too busy, but I
Oh,
miss
that's
Stephen Colbert.
He was so I loved the Colbert Report. I don't watch now that he hosts like the
Yeah, I
mainstream
don't
thing.
either.
And
That show he had, that was great.
yeah, it was the best thing ever. Yeah, I was that and the Daily Show. I watched it
Yeah.
every day. I never missed a. That's
Yeah,
so
same. I used to
cool.
watch it in Australia.
You should totally do that. You got to do that.
Yeah, I will do it one day. When I do it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll probably hear about it on the news because you'll probably get sued by Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
Then you can use an AI lawyer to argue your case. And
Yeah, that's true.
we are almost out of time here, but before I forget, I have to ask you. I follow them on Instagram. Have you heard of Peggy and Molly, the bird and
No,
the
I don't think I have.
dogs? I
Oh wait,
think
what
they're.
the
Oh,
yeah, sorry, go on.
oh no, yeah, it's just like it's a bird and then it lives with these two dogs.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I didn't really yeah, I do know who you're talking about.
The
That
government took it
magpie.
away, and then yes,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
so that
them.
was like it was a big story here. I personally it just seems dumb. Like why you would who was the person who told on them? Like someone narked on them in the first
Well, they
place.
have 1 million followers on
That's
Instagram.
true.
They're
Yeah, that's
beloved
true.
in America. They're like the president here now. They're like,
Oh, right, okay.
I wrote
Yeah,
a
well, they
really
were
mean
reunited.
letter to your government when they took them away. I was like, if we go to war with China, you're on your own.
Yeah,
Got to
well,
get
it
this
worked.
bird back. Yeah, I think there was like an international outcry. It was the president or the premier or whatever they call it went to their
Yeah,
house, and
Premier. Yeah.
yeah, that's in America. They just would have drone strike the house. They would have
Yeah.
destroyed the whole neighborhood. There would have been, it would have been like the Empire Strikes Back. It'd be like calling Emperor Palpatine because they took the bird away. Well, this was really, really awesome, James. My creaky chair. I can cut that out and post though. Thank you so much. This was so, so cool. Is there anything you want to say to America before we go?
If you want to play with the latest AI, go to chatinfinity.com.au and that's it. That's my plug.
Nice. That is so cool. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, man. This was great. I look forward to following your stuff on Instagram and yeah, if you ever come to America, let's totally hang out. Have your AI call my AI and we'll do
All right, we'll
lunch.
do it. Yep. I'll send an AI robot in my place.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just an avatar.
Yeah, Avatar, that's what I was looking for.
And then just go to like a robot restaurant and call like Bender's Place would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool. All right, mate.
I'm gonna go back to sleep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep.
That's awesome. Don't tell me what happens tomorrow. I want to be surprised. No spoilers.
Okay, yep. I'll keep it under wraps.
Time travel.